Hello beautiful friends, I am so happy to be with you today for another Maggie Holmes Monday. Before I start today, I thought I would take a little bit of time to just quickly talk through this Maggie Holmes stash or supply stash that I actually do have to be working with. Now if you're not interested in this part, I will leave a little timestamp so that you can flip ahead to the start of the process if that's what you would prefer to do. But what I have here, so I do have, as you would have seen from my previous video, I do have the Sunny Days collection. I also have Marigold, which is a newer collection. And of course, Maggie Holmes has just announced a new, I can't remember, flower garden collection. So I know I'm going to be picking that one up too. But I somehow missed the boat on some of the older collections, and I'm talking the Confetti, the Bloom, the Carousel. I think at the time I was living in a much smaller space. I had a much smaller stash of supplies, and I was in a different stage of my documenting, so I was doing more pocket pages and smaller scale projects rather than full scale 12 by 12s. I did love these collections though, and so at some point over the years I ended up picking up these paper pads. So I have the Confetti paper pad, I have the Bloom paper pad and the Carousel paper pad, which I picked up from Spotlight, which if you're not in Australia is like a big box craft store, most likely when they were having a sale. But all I had was the paper pads, and you can see I've also got a little 6x6 for Bloom, and I have a 6x8 for Carousel. I didn't have any embellishments, so over time I have gone and through different, I think through eBay, perhaps for some online stores, and even directly from American Crafts, I have gone and purchased just a bunch of whatever I could get my hands on. Some are from these collections, others, as you can see, this one is really a lot older. This may be from an original Maggie Holmes collection. So I have got some embellishments. I've got some stickers, some thickers, some more stickers. I also had this Willow Lane paper pad. Not sure why I have just the Willow Lane, just the 6x8. No idea why I have this and nothing else. And I also do have some chipboard, which of course will come in very handy. And I've got some of the specialty polka dot glitter. So that's what I've got in terms, or in the way of embellishments to coordinate with these papers. But knowing myself and knowing that that may not be enough to get done what I want to get done, I did also purchase some digital element packs from AC Digitals during I think it was during a sale period, and I got them quite cheap. So for Confetti and for Bloom and for Carousel, I have digital ephemera and digital elements, digital embellishments, which I can use with the print and cut feature on my Silhouette Cameo. And that is exactly what I have done for the layout that I'm going to be working on today. I am going to be documenting, excuse me, I'm not quite sure which photo I'm going to use yet. It's going to be something from my daughter's first birthday party. It may be this photo of her with her cousins, or it may be, I don't think I'm going to use these photos, or it may be this photo of the three of us. Haven't quite decided yet which one I'm going to use, but it's going to be one of those. It's about her first birthday. And then I went through the ephemera packs, or the elements, the digital elements for the Confetti collection, and I've selected a few things which I have sent to my Silhouette Cameo in a print and cut. So these floral pieces, there's quite a few pieces I've just cut them straight, printed them out and cut them straight out. And then there are some which I wanted to add a little bit of dimension to almost give the look and feel of chipboard to. So while I only printed one copy of these, I actually cut a few different layers, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see up there. I'm filming at night, so the light's a bit not great. I've layered, I think there's 4 layers of paper or cardstock on these pieces, so they're just a little bit thicker than a regular paper. And that is what I am going to be documenting with. Of course, I'm going to choose some pattern papers and we will see what I can come up with when we hop on fast forward. Okay, so we're starting off with some mixed media. I am using some basil marshmallow cardstock, which is a really nice thick cardstock. Off camera, I have applied what I thought was a nice thick layer of gesso, but I soon found out that it was a little bit patchy. I have also, you may be able to faintly see on my cardstock there, I have used a pencil to faintly trace around the spot where my photo is going to sit, because I want this mixed media to just be limited to sit behind the photo and not overtake the whole page. I'm not particularly good at eyeballing these kind of things, so tracing it there with the pencil just gives me a really good guide about where to put my mixed media. And I am using some Lindy's Stamp Gang Magicals, 3 different colors, a really soft pink, a darker pink, and then a peachy color. Now, I am still really struggling to find a technique that I am happy with for my own aesthetic preferences. I've tried emulating Lauren Hender with her beautiful brush application, and it never really works out for me. The packaging technique, I don't have enough control when I'm doing the packaging technique. So here I'm actually trying to blend the two together. So I am using a nice big thick brush, and I am trying, as Lauren Hender has explained in some of her YouTube videos, I'm trying to just roll the brush around the page and allow the pigment and the water to sort of flow from the brush rather than me trying to push it around. But it's probably something that I need to spend more time practicing, and excuse the back of my head there, because it still doesn't quite come out the way I envisage. So I have got some packaging which I've cut into a really small square this time, so much smaller than I would usually do, and I'm just using that to move the color around, and I'm finding that that's giving me something closer to the kind of effect that I'm looking for. I am definitely more inclined towards the softer side of watercolor. I don't like really defined edges, but then I don't like it to go everywhere either. So tell me in my comments below, do you use mixed media, or do you do much mixed media on your layouts? And if you do, what's your go-to technique? How do you get mixed media onto your page? Because I'm certainly keen to hear what others do and to try out some new techniques. Now you can see on the left there where there is some much darker spots of color, and that's where I don't know what happened, but my application of gesso just really wasn't great there. So the paper has really absorbed that pigment, and I've just added some splatters over the top. So to start with, I've got this pattern paper, and all you're going to see me do here is trim off 1 inch from each side of the paper, because I'm just going to use those 1 inch strips as to back or on my background. And while I'm at it, this isn't completely dry yet, but I'm just trimming the branding strip off, and I'm going to pop that background off to the side while I bring out my photo and just create some really simple layers behind my photo. So to begin with, I'm using just some plain white cardstock, and this is a really inexpensive cardstock that I buy in a bulk pack from Spotlight. I think it may be the Recollections brand. It's not textured, but it's perfect for matting my photos. It's also perfect for journaling with my typewriter, and I do use it for backgrounds sometimes. Now I also have this pink chevron, what do we call it, a chevron print pattern paper from the paper pad. I'm gutting it only because I know that that is definitely the kind of design that I would use to back a layout or to mat a whole layout on. So I've put that to the side, and I'm just going to use the inside piece here to layer behind my photo, and that's going to be all that I do in terms of a whole mat for my photo, because the rest of it, as you will shortly see, is going to be layering up some cut aparts. So that background, it's still, no, it is dry now. It is dry now. And I'm just trimming down 1/2 inch from either side. So normally if you've watched my videos previously, you would know that I like to mat my pages. Usually I mat the whole page I trim the whole page down, the whole background down, and then mat it onto some patterned paper. This time I'm just going to do one side, I'm just going to do down the side. So I'm not going to mat the top and the bottom. So I'm just adding a strip of this patterned paper down the side, and I'm using the rulers on my mat to help me line it up to make sure that I've got it straight and to make sure that I end up with a 12 by 12 page. So I've done that now off camera. I was having some trouble with my ATG, so I turned the camera off to fix that up. And I have run a line of stitching down each side with a really soft pink thread on my sewing machine. And now I'm ready to start building up a little bit more interest behind this photo. So to begin with, I'm just going to rough up the edges of that cardstock. This happy birthday frame was a digital piece that I used my silhouette and my printer to print and cut. And all of these bits and pieces here that you see on the left came from one of the cut apart papers in the paper pad. So I've cut all of that out, and then I just went through to see which I thought I might be able to use on this layout, and this is what I ended up with. So there's these two pieces here, these little banners. This one says birthday girl and the other one says love you, and although I'm spending this time cutting the fishtails out, they don't end up making it onto this layout. So all I'm trying to do here is to just layer up these little bits and pieces around my photo, just to add a little bit more visual interest and to bring in a few more pops of color. So this is a very pink heavy layout, as so many of my layouts end up being, but I did want to bring in some other little pops of color through the embellishments and through some of the other parts of the layout, just so that it wasn't so bold and pink. And I grabbed the branding strip from one of the papers that I had trimmed off because it had these, again, multicolored little ticket stub pieces that I thought would go really well. I'm really struggling to get my words out today, so I apologize. My tongue's not working properly, my brain's not working properly, but we'll get there. And that's it. So that's my little cluster of interest around my photo, and I'm really, really happy with the way that turned out and the way that looks. I do want to have that pop up off the page a little bit, so I've just grabbed some adhesive foam from my stash and I've popped that on the back of the photo, and then it is ready to go onto the page, just tidying up a little bit of wet adhesive that came off. So what you can see just over to the left now by my hand is some tulle which I had picked up from a craft store, from a fabric store, and it's a pink tulle with these really beautiful gold stars all over it, and I thought that would be perfect for this layout. So I have grabbed some of that. I think I've got about 1 meter of it in my little stash of textural elements. And I'm just bunching it up into the middle to give the edges a really nice, organic, soft feel. And I've used my long arm stapler just to hold that down in place. And that really, really worked well. If you've watched, I think it was a couple of videos ago, I used some gauze and I had a lot of trouble getting it to sit how I wanted it to sit. So I think bringing my stapler in might be something that I look at doing the next time I want to work with that, because it was a really quick and easy way of getting that tulle to stay where I wanted it to stay. And then I've used my 450 glue behind that photo because I know that it does dry super quick. It's a little bit thicker and it's going to help me adhere the foam to the tulle a little bit better than this Art Institute glitter glue would do. Now this little banner piece was another digital element that I print and cut with my silhouette, but this is one of the pieces that I turned into a quasi chipboard by layering up a few extra cuts behind the first one. So I think it's got about 3 or 4 layers of paper there, which gives it just a little bit more dimension than a regular piece of paper or a regular die cut would. And now I am coming in with some florals, which I have fussy cut out from one of the pattern papers. So in the paper pad, it's these beautiful bright pink florals that are on a dark teal green background, and I knew that the florals would go really, really well with this layout, so I fussy cut a few of those out, and now I'm just going to tuck them in over the top left of my photo and down to the bottom right, and that will be my 2 clusters, my 2 little embellishment clusters on this layout. So I'm using some foam tape, which if you're new to my channel, I have talked about this before. This foam tape I buy in a huge roll from Bunnings, which is a hardware store, or a big hardware store here in Australia. It is a photo mounting tape. The one that I purchase is photo safe, so it is acid free. The only downside that I'm finding with this is that the backing can be really, really, really tricky to remove. It's very sticky, it's very adhesive, and I do sometimes have trouble getting the backing off. So I have my little piercing tool there, which comes in handy just to lift that corner off when I need to. And I do have to say, I am really loving my florals at the moment. I haven't always loved including florals in my layouts, but it's definitely something that I am doing just about every time now. So again, let me know in the comments, what are you loving at the moment? What's one little supply, or perhaps some kind of icon or something that's featuring on a lot of your layouts at the moment? I'd love to know what is really floating your scrapbooking boat. So go ahead and leave me a comment and let me know what you're using. Now, I tried to bring in a few more of these florals, which I had used the print and cut feature on my Cameo to create, but because the color reproduction on my printer isn't quite the same as the colors that were in the paper pad, it doesn't match super well. So that's something that I'm going to have to consider and look at in the future when I am wanting to use these digital elements that I've purchased. But for now, I'm just sticking with the fussy cut florals, and I do bring in a few of the foliage. So I printed out and cut some leaves, and I do bring those in because even though the green doesn't perfectly match the green that's in the florals that I've fussy cut, it's close enough that it still works. So I've got that little bird, which I popped up the top left there. No particular reason, I just thought it looked really cute. And here is one of those leaves, so I'm just tucking that in. Again, it brings in another color, the more of that tealy green, which I think just adds a bit more interest, bit more visual interest to my page. And I'm going to try and see if I can get that other little birdie to fit in, and here I'm trying to get those banners, but they just don't work. Now, this gold foil Celebrate came from a Thickers sheet, a Maggie Holmes Thickers set that I have got in my stash, and at the moment I'm thinking that I'm going to pop that just centered down the bottom there. And at the same time, I'm also thinking about where my journaling is going to go. So I have typed my journaling out on my typewriter already, and it's just off to the right there waiting to go onto my layout. So you would have seen as I'm talking away there, I tried really hard to bring in more bits and pieces for that bottom cluster. This bow is really, really sweet, but it just doesn't fit anywhere on the layout. So I stick with just those leaves, and then finally decide to leave it at that. And now here I come with my journaling in strips, which is just going to tuck in there in that little bit of space under the photo and work around the leaves of that floral cluster. And just trimming them down, I do use wet adhesive, my Art Institute glitter glue, with the fine tip applicator for this, and I like to use my tweezers so that I can really check my placement before I stick it down. Off camera, I do come in and add some Nuvo drops in a few different colors. I've picked a gold and a pink, and you will see that in the close-up photos, which will be coming up very shortly once I have finished adhering this journaling down. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. I would love for you to go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already done so. If you have enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up or leave me a comment. All the engagement that I get really does help me to grow my channel. And of course, if you have been with me for some time, thank you so much. As always, your support really does mean so much to me. So as I said, we've got some close-up photos coming in just a moment, but thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.